The Republic of Georgia is a small, undeveloped Asian nation that was once part of the Soviet Union. It plays no role in the American economy or security, yet was conquered by the American Empire in 2003 when the CIA organized a coup to establish a puppet government. Billions of dollars in American military aid, hundreds of military trainers, and thousands of American troops arrived. Russia protested this invasion, but objections were used to proclaim a return to the Cold War and the need for large increases in military spending. Georgia had been part of Russia since 1801. During World War II, 700,000 Georgians fought the Germans and half were killed. Joseph Stalin was from Georgia and is pictured there. After the Soviet Union dissolved, Georgia became independent in 1991, but a bloody civil war soon erupted as ethnic groups and distant regions rejected rule from the Georgian capital. The American Empire exploited this instability to seize control. It dispatched non-governmental organizations, NGOs, that pretend to act as charities, but are secretly funded to instigate protests and riots. The NGOs were coordinated by the U.S. ambassador to Georgia, Richard Miles, who had just arrived from success in orchestrating the CIA-backed toppling of Slobodan Milosevic in Belgrade using the same NGOs. Miles is pictured here in Georgia in December 2004 with Georgia's top general and the vice chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Peter Pace. This coup involved American billionaire George Soros' new Open Society Georgia Foundation and the Washington-based Freedom House, whose chairman was former CIA Director James Woolsey. It involved generous financing from the U.S. government's National Endowment for Democracy, an agency created by Ronald Reagan in the 1980s to topple unfriendly governments. The American CIA dispatched Mikhail Saakashvili to lead this effort. He is handsome, ambitious, and speaks English, which he polished while attending expensive and prestigious Columbia University Law School in New York City. This was affordable because the CIA recruited and trained him years before. He received a full scholarship from the U.S. State Department and interned at the United Nations in New York. Saakashvili then worked a few months at the prestigious New York law firm of Patterson, Belknap, Webb, and Tyler, alongside Michael Mukasey, who soon became the U.S. Attorney General. The CIA sent Saakashvili to Georgia with a huge bankroll where he founded a new political party to advocate joining the EU and NATO. He somehow became justice minister and instigated a, quote, Rose Revolution with the help of NGOs that overthrew Georgia's democratic government. Saakashvili became president and secured control by firing the entire Georgian National Police Force. Dozens of Americans from the Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs arrived to train a new police force. Saakashvili is seen here in 2008 with the American commander of the U.S. Southern European Task Force, Brigadier General William Garrett, who arrived with several thousand American troops. The younger man is Davit Kezerashvili, a 30-year-old who returned from Israel to become Georgia's Minister of Defense. He later fled after millions of dollars went missing. See the article linked below for details. Israel sent hundreds of military trainers to help as Georgia's military budget increased 20-fold. Most Americans have never heard of the Republic of Georgia, yet this small nation suddenly became the fourth largest recipient of American foreign aid. In 2008, Saakashvili sought to expand Georgia by invading two regions that had broke away years before. Lightly armed Russian peacekeepers protecting their borders withdrew as the Georgian army advanced. The Georgians were stunned when Russian armored units crossed the border and counterattacked, despite the presence of thousands of American troops who happened to be in Georgia for training. The Georgian army quickly retreated home, while the American media condemned Russia and told the American people that evil Russians attacked innocent Georgians. America's corporate media flooded the nation with anti-Russia propaganda. This resulted in an awkward Fox News interview with two American citizens who fled the fighting. They blamed Saakashvili and thanked the Russians for expelling the Georgian invaders, resulting in an immediate commercial break.
Were there bombs falling all the while?
I didn't see any, but before I say anything else, I just want to say that I was running from Georgian troops bombing our city, not Russian troops. I want to say thank you to the Russian troops that were helping us out.
Where is your family now, and how are they?
Some of my cousins, aunts, and uncles are in North Ossetia right now, and they are safe. But my grandma and some of my aunts and uncles are still back there, and I don't know. We don't have any contact with them. I don't know if they're alive or anything.
Wow, I know your aunt is with you. This I cannot even imagine. I mean, seeing a 12-year-old go through all of this, it must have been horrifying.
Yeah, it was horrifying for all of us, and main thing I wanted to say on the television, I want you to know to whom to blame on this conflict. That's Mr. Saakashvili, who started this war, and Mr. Saakashvili, who is aggressor, and who in 2 days my people, Ossetian people, were killed and were underbombed, and 2,000 people were killed in 1 day, and that's what I'm against.
I would never cut you off. Unfortunately, a commercial break will take us there in 4 seconds, whether we like it or not.
I know.
Plans to reduce American military forces in Europe were halted, and plans for new bases in Eastern Europe proposed. While American political leaders talked excitedly about a new Cold War, Republican Congressman Rohrabacher received little coverage when he summarized the event. Quote, "The Russians were right, we're wrong." He said this at a hearing of the House of Representatives Foreign Affairs Committee. He added, quote, "The Georgians started it, the Russians ended it." Saakashvili's poor performance led to mass protests. His party lost the 2008 elections, and he fled to the United States in 2013 amid investigations. A Georgian court sentenced Saakashvili in absentia to 6 years in prison in June 2018 for abuse of power and seeking to cover up evidence about a 2005 murder of a Georgian banker. The CIA gave him a nice lecture spot at Tufts University until he was dispatched to Ukraine in 2014 to participate in a coup there. Despite his ouster, the Republic of Georgia remains a pawn of the American empire. Thousands of Georgian troops are routinely deployed to support American occupations in Kosovo, Iraq, shown here, and Afghanistan, where 35 have been killed.
Proudly carrying their country's red and white flag, Georgian troops were welcomed home from Afghanistan with hugs and handshakes. 150 soldiers with the 22nd Battalion marched off a military aircraft after landing in the Georgian capital Tbilisi on April 25th. They had spent 7 months providing security at the Bagram Air Base north of the Afghan capital, Kabul. Georgian troops were commended for their bravery following a suicide attack near the base last December that killed 6 U.S. airmen.
The patrol was about 800 meters away. They responded extremely quickly.
The United States hosts large annual military exercises in Georgia, just 45 miles from the Russian border, and spent millions of dollars to construct new military facilities in Georgia. The U.S. Army spends millions of dollars each year to ship tanks to participate in exercises designed to agitate Russia. The U.S. government continually promotes the idea of Georgia becoming a member of NATO. NATO members usually rubber stamp plans of the American empire, but have refused to accept Georgia as a NATO member. Article 10 of the North Atlantic Treaty limits membership extension to European states. In addition, Georgia will not contribute to the defense of Europe, and this would further antagonize Russia. Moreover, committing NATO to defend distant Georgia could embolden its leaders to settle scores with nearby nations or to confront nuclear-armed Russia. Recall that World War I and World War II began when major powers declared war because of treaty commitments. The basic policy of containment from the Cold War has been reversed. Europeans realize the threat of Soviet expansionism has been replaced by the need to contain American expansionism.